Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into It Is Finished. That's a chapter from the book Christ's Victory and the Great Controversy. And, when you first hear It Is Finished, you kind of think, well, that's pretty straightforward, right? Jesus died on the cross. End of story. But I got to say, as I started reading this chapter, I realized there's so much more to unpack here. It's like this phrase, It Is Finished, echoes not just through history, but across the entire universe.
Yeah, I think what's really fascinating about this chapter is it takes us beyond just the human perspective of the crucifixion, and it explores how this event resonated with the angels, even unfallen worlds out there in the cosmos. So we get this kind of cosmic panorama of what was really at stake during those hours.
A cosmic panorama. That's a great way to put it. And, something that really hit me was the chapter's emphasis on Satan's defeat at the cross. Like, it wasn't just about human sin. It was a decisive blow against evil itself. But the chapter also reveals something kind of surprising about Satan's nature, something that even the angels hadn't fully grasped until that moment.
Right. The chapter describes how Lucifer, before his fall, was full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. I mean, he was a covering cherub, this being of incredible glory and power. And yet he chose rebellion. He twisted his beauty and his wisdom into instruments of evil. And the chapter suggests that even the angels were somewhat deceived by his outward appearance until the true depths of his wickedness were exposed at the cross.
It's just such a tragic picture,
Yeah.
This being of dazzling brilliance, choosing the path of darkness. Makes you wonder, why didn't God just stop him right then and there? Why allow this cosmic rebellion to even begin?
Well, that's where the chapter gets into some really profound territory. You see, God's government is based on love, not force. And that's a key difference. Unlike Satan, who demands obedience through coercion, God respects free will. And destroying Satan immediately wouldn't have addressed the root of the problem, the rebellion itself. You see, it wouldn't have given the universe a clear understanding of the devastating consequences of choosing evil.
So in a sense, time was needed. Time for Satan's principles to play out and to reveal their true nature to everyone watching. And that's where the crucifixion comes in. It wasn't just a human event. It was a cosmic showdown.
Exactly. And the chapter actually describes the crucifixion as a pivotal battle in what it calls the Great Controversy, this struggle between good and evil that encompasses the entire universe. And you can almost imagine the scene. The principalities and powers of darkness gathered around the cross, these once glorious angels now twisted and corrupted, witnessing the consequences of their rebellion.
Wow, it's like this huge cosmic courtroom drama unfolding with heaven and even those unfallen worlds watching with bated breath. The stakes couldn't be higher. But if Christ's death was this decisive victory, why is there still so much evil in the world? It feels like a contradiction. Yeah, I mean, it's a question that's probably crossed all of our minds at some point. If good triumphed over evil at the cross, why does it still feel like we're living in the aftermath of an explosion? Brokenness, suffering, injustice everywhere you look.
It's definitely a tension the chapter acknowledges. While Christ's death secured the ultimate victory, it didn't instantly erase the consequences of sin or eliminate the presence of evil.
So it's like, even though his power is restricted, as the chapter puts it, he's still actively deceiving, tempting, accusing. And one of his most insidious strategies, according to the chapter, is to twist and distort God's law, using it as a weapon to control and manipulate.
You got it. And this is where the concept of the Great Controversy becomes incredibly relevant to our lives today. The chapter argues that the final battle in this cosmic struggle won't be fought with swords and shields, but with ideas, principles, and ultimately our allegiance. Satan will try to convince people that God's law is outdated, oppressive, or even harmful. He'll try to replace it with human laws that contradict God's principles, leading to all sorts of injustice and suffering.
So it's almost like a bait and switch. He takes something designed for our good, God's law, which is meant to guide us towards freedom and flourishing, and twists it into something that binds and restricts us.
Precisely. And the chapter is pretty clear that this isn't just some abstract theological debate happening in the heavenly realms. It's playing out in the choices we make every single day. Think about the messages we're bombarded with in the media, in politics, even in our personal relationships. How often are we encouraged to prioritize self-interest over love, expediency over integrity, or conformity over conscience?
Yeah, it's like we're constantly being nudged, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly, towards a worldview that's at odds with God's principles. So how do we navigate this? How do we know we're on the right side of this great controversy, as the chapter calls it?
Well, the chapter really emphasizes the importance of discernment. It challenges us to compare human laws, philosophies, and ideologies with the unchanging standard of God's law.
Mhm.
To ask ourselves, do they align with his principles of love, justice, and freedom? Or are they subtle attempts to undermine God's authority and replace it with something lesser, something ultimately destructive?
It sounds like a huge responsibility. It's almost like we're jurors in this cosmic courtroom,
Yeah.
weighing evidence and making decisions that have eternal consequences, not just for ourselves, but for the universe as a whole.
That's a powerful image. And the chapter suggests that our choices, even the seemingly small ones, have a ripple effect. Every act of kindness, every decision to speak truth, every time we resist a selfish impulse, these are all votes cast in favor of God's kingdom. They're contributions to the weakening of Satan's power and the ultimate triumph of good over evil.
So it's not just about avoiding bad things. It's about actively choosing good, about aligning ourselves with God's purposes and reflecting his character in the world. But if we're honest, that can feel daunting. What if we mess up? What if we make the wrong choice? Does one misstep send us tumbling over to the wrong side of this cosmic battle?
And here's where the chapter offers a profoundly reassuring message. It reminds us that we're not in this alone. God's grace is a powerful force for transformation, empowering us to make righteous choices and aligning our hearts with his will. It's not about achieving some impossible standard of perfection. It's about surrendering to his love and allowing him to work in and through us.
So to bring it back to the phrase that started this whole deep dive, it is finished. It's not just a statement about the past, about a victory won on a hill called Calvary. It's a promise for the present and a hope for the future. It's a declaration that the power of sin and death has been broken, and that even in the midst of this ongoing great controversy, we can live lives of freedom, purpose, and joy.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And as we head into the final part of our deep dive, I want you to consider this. If the cross was the climax of this cosmic courtroom drama and the battle over God's law is the final showdown, then what role do we as individuals play in this epic story? Are we merely spectators? Or are we active participants shaping the narrative with every choice we make?
Ooh, that's a question that deserves some serious pondering. We'll be back in a moment to explore that very question and to uncover the surprising truth about our place in this grand cosmic narrative. Don't go anywhere. Okay, deep divers, we're back and ready to tackle that thought-provoking question, that one you left us with. You know, if this great controversy, this cosmic battle between good and evil, is still raging, on what role do we play in all of this? It's easy to feel kind of insignificant, like our choices don't really matter on a grand scale.
Yeah, it's a natural feeling to have, especially when we start thinking about the vastness of the universe and the forces at play. But this chapter really challenges that notion. It suggests that individual choices are far more powerful than we might realize. In fact, it argues that the final outcome of this controversy hinges, in part, on the decisions we make each and every day.
Wow, okay, now that's a powerful thought. But how can that be? How can my choice to say, forgive someone who wronged me, or to stand up for what I believe in, actually impact this huge cosmic struggle between good and evil?
Well, the chapter explains that every time we align ourselves with God's principles, with love, truth, justice, and mercy, we're essentially casting a vote for his side. Like, we're contributing to this cosmic tipping point, weakening the grip of evil and strengthening the forces of good.
So it's like a ripple effect. Our choices, even the seemingly small ones, create these ripples that extend outward, impacting not just our own lives, but the world around us, and ultimately the very fabric of the universe.
That's a great way to put it. And the chapter emphasizes that every character will be fully developed and all will show whether they have chosen the side of loyalty or that of rebellion. You see, it's not just about one grand gesture or a single defining moment. It's about the cumulative effect of our daily decisions, the patterns we establish, the habits we cultivate, the values we prioritize.
That makes sense, but it also feels like a lot of pressure. What if we stumble? What if we make a mistake? Does one wrong choice automatically land us on the wrong side of this cosmic battle?
Well, the chapter offers a very reassuring message in this regard. It emphasizes that God's grace is not just about forgiveness. It's about transformation. It's about empowering us to make better choices, to break free from destructive patterns, and to align our hearts with his will. It's not about achieving some impossible standard of perfection. It's about allowing God's love to shape us, to guide us, and to work through us.
So it's not just about winning a cosmic court case. It's about becoming more like Christ in the process. It's about reflecting his character, his love, and his values in the world. even amidst the messiness and brokenness that surrounds us.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole great controversy concept so incredibly profound and inspiring. It's not just some abstract theological debate. It's a deeply personal invitation to participate in something much bigger than ourselves, become agents of healing, reconciliation, and hope in a world that desperately needs all three.
Yeah, and it all comes back to that powerful phrase, "It is finished." It's not just a statement of a victory won in the past. It's a declaration of hope for the present and a promise for the future. It's a reminder that the power of sin and death has been broken and that we can live lives of purpose, meaning, and joy, even in the midst of this ongoing cosmic struggle.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd like to leave our listeners with one final thought. If we truly believe that our choices have cosmic significance, that they contribute to the ultimate triumph of good over evil, then what kind of impact do we want to make? What kind of legacy will our decisions leave behind?
That's a powerful question to ponder. As we go about our days, let's remember that we're not just living our lives. We're writing our chapters in this epic story of good versus evil. And the pen, my friends, is in our hands. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.